It's beautiful.
Playing Helldivers 2 makes you feel like an epic, badass soldier who's come to give freedom and democracy to the cultureless heathens that are the Terminids and automatons. However, when I say democracy and freedom, what I actually mean is bombs and more bombs. Helldivers 2 is a third-person shooter, massively multiplayer indie game that was developed by Arrowhead Studios. The story is this. Humans find out that some bug creatures called Terminids produce a super valuable resource, so they slaughter them en masse to line their pockets, as humans do. But that was a lot of work, so eventually they established bug farms to harvest their insides with ease, and they even prospered for a while. But there was a bug in the system, and it caused a containment breach, releasing the bugs who rampaged across the planets that they were contained in, causing untold chaos and destruction. And while that was happening, some robots also conveniently come to destroy humanity. So humanity's response was to unleash the Helldivers to combat the threat and keep their homeworld, Super Earth, safe by wielding the power of freedom and democracy. The story isn't really the main focus of the game. The focus is blowing up bugs and robots. There is, however, various audio logs, notes, and propaganda messages you can find as you play that go into more detail. You can play Helldivers 2 on controller or mouse and keyboard. Currently, you can only play it on PS5 and PC through Steam. There was a petition to bring it to Xbox, but so far, PlayStation has told the fans to suck a fat one. Helldivers has no cross-progression, however it does have cross-play. And here's the menu settings if you're interested in that. Graphically, the game looks amazing, just as good as any AAA game in my opinion. Just everything from models to textures to shaders looks good. There's nothing really bad I can say here. Shiny, streaking bullets fly through the air and whiz by you, or into you. There's big-ass bug aliens that are charging at you, explosions from airstrikes, gas clouds, dust clouds, particle effects, etc, etc. If I had a gun to my head and had to call out one bad thing graphics-wise, it would be this big visual bug that appeared in the distance. Not sure what the hell it is, but my friends were concerned by it. The game sounds good too. Your character will yell phrases associated with what you think a cult of people who worship America would yell. Every enemy type has unique sounds. Gunshots sound good too. Airstrikes sound powerful and bassy. The game is just visually and audioly appealing. I know that's not a word, and I don't care. The system requirements are about mid-range, with the recommended card being a 2060 RTX and 100 gigs of free disk space. Helldivers 2 gameplay generally goes like this. Spawn on your spaceship. Look at all the fancy schmancy terminals and menus to see what kind of air support upgrades, weapons, armors, and equipment you can use. Go to your control station, choose a difficulty, and either choose quick play to join another player's squad, or choose a specific planet you want to liberate if you have friends, or wait for people to join you. Solo play is possible, but it's miserable unless you're a 2K hour Helldiver Giga Chad on any difficulty besides the lower ones. You'll eventually get people to join you most of the time. You can do either a 15-minute max game or a 40-minute max game against one of two factions. Terminids and automatons. They're also in the process of adding another race called the Illuminati. I know that's not how it's pronounced, but that's how we're gonna do it. Anyways, after traveling to your mission destination, you hop in your drop pod, choose a drop spot, choose what kind of support you want from your ship during the mission. Then finally, launch yourself through the cosmos, touch down at your destination, and then commence the opening of several cans of whoop-ass upon anything that would dare oppose you. Until you get to the higher difficulties, at which point you become a little bitch and have to constantly kite hordes of bad guys around who have come to rip your asshole into itty-bitty pieces. And, while you're being savagely brutalized by hordes of enemies, you also need to do a bullshit little objective. There's a few different kinds of main objectives you need to do to finish a mission depending on what mission you pick, like Eradicate, where you just need to kill a set amount of dudes depending on difficulty. Then there's the Prepare and Launch Your Friendly Neighborhood ICBM mission, where you acquire the launch codes, then input the launch codes, which are literally just PS2 era Grand Theft Auto cheat codes, and then launch it, and watch as it streaks through the air and delivers a metric fuck ton of democracy to those who would dare infringe upon your constitutional rights. Then there's the little side objectives, which are usually kill and blow up all things in a specific area, or input a code, or some other nonsense. Then, once you're done, call in your evac ship and get the hell out of there, or be killed inches away from safety like me. Then depending on your performance and amount of side objectives you did, you get this yellow currency which is called renown and some medals, and finally once it's all said and done you can see how well you did compared to your teammates. For mechanics, you can melee attack, you can throw a grenade, you can sprint, you can crouch, you can go prone, you can dive any direction to avoid certain death, call in air support, also via PS2 GTA cheat codes, and then throwing a little shiny boy to indicate where you want your ship to visit destruction. Use a stim to heal yourself and repair body parts, which if left broken can cause you to limp, for example. Sometimes hazardous weather can happen like a dust storm, so you can't see things that you need to deliver democracy to. There's also all sorts of things you can do to customize your character. You can change up your guns and grenade variants. There's a bunch of assault rifle variants like the boring base one or the concussive one, which can knock your friends over while they're holding grenades or airstrikes, which is kind of funny. Anyways, not gonna go through all of them, but there's lots of guns and grenades. Look at them. There's laser weapons, SMGs, shotguns, marksman rifles, electricity guns, a big-ass revolver, fire grenades, impact grenades, etc., etc. You can choose 3 or 4 different air support options, such as dozens of airstrikes that come in different shapes and sizes, the biggest of which is basically a small nuclear blast. There's gas strikes, there's several variations of auto turrets like the autocannon. You can get support weapons like rocket launchers or big-ass machine guns dropped to you. There's also a shield generator that protects you from damage. That's a few, but you get the gist. There's hella air support types you can call in. Also, when someone dies, you have to call them back in like you'd call in an airstrike, and if you land on an enemy, they take massive damage. Then you got different armors to put on, all of which give you different stats affecting your mobility and survivability, as well as bonus passives, which do things like this. Then lastly, there's team passive items, which are called boosters. Every player can equip one, and they do things like this. So yeah, there's a shitload of different playstyles you can toy around with, and it'll take a while to get bored, especially because the developers are adding content left and right. You unlock everything in the menus you access on your ship with either renown or medals, which you get from just playing the game. Buy super credits with real-life money to buy certain things. The devs have been adding new weapons and armors and everything else pretty steadily since the game is launched, so that's good. There are lots of enemies for you to rain democracy down upon. As mentioned earlier, there's enemy factions, the Terminids and the Cyborgs. Each faction has hordes upon hordes of generic foot soldiers that just have a singular attack such as shoot or melee attack, and are usually dispatched with a few shots. Alone they're easy, in groups it's fun to watch their entire molecular structure be permanently erased from this plane of existence by airstrikes. Then you got special enemies, of which each race has their own unique variations. The Terminids have the Bile Titan, or as I like to call them, Daddy Long Schlongs, which are gigantic 4-legged killing machines, somewhat resembling a scarab from Halo. Or there's Chargers, which will perform surprise butt sex on unaware Helldivers, and if you're particularly unlucky, you can have one knock you right into an airstrike and die. The Cyborgs have this gigantic tank-looking thing that's all armored in the front and has weak spot on the back, and has multiple ways to make your ass grass, including a flamethrower and a machine gun. They also got chicken walker things from Star Wars. Shoot the 1 pixel of their head that protrudes above the walker to kill them, or just whip an impact grenade at it, and watch it go bye-bye. There's even flying enemies that'll swoop down and try to take a bite out of that ass. They're still continuing to add more enemy types, and they're also adding vehicles. I'm sure some of you have heard the legend of Joel and how he went into a player's game and dropped hitting the vehicle. The game is designed to be played cooperatively with a max group size of 4. There is no PvP because the devs don't want to bring the toxicity of PvP into their game, because everyone's little fucking feelings are gonna get hurt. I know it's a hot take and I don't care. PvP would be cool as hell in this game with the airstrikes and everything. Anyways, you can join players through Steam. There's potential for griefing and a lot of it. Full friendly fire is enabled, so you can just smoke other people you're playing with via gunshots. You can also just blow someone up with an airstrike, which oftentimes is completely by accident because of how big some airstrikes are and how some are really long horizontally but others aren't. It's honestly just chaos. There are cosmetics in the game in the form of helmets, capes, banners, emotes, and all the other generic live service real money shit that comes with games like this. It can also be argued that it's kind of pay to win because you can use super credits to buy slightly better armor, but I don't think it's too significant. There were a couple glitches and bugs, for instance that sail looking thing I mentioned earlier, and this robot got stuck on top of a rock, and when I shot him he engaged Mach 5 thrusters and took off. And I got stuck in a wall once, which was no bueno. No clip though, so I could be lying, you wouldn't know. To recap, Helldivers 2 is a really fun game. Calling in air support the way you do in this game is unique, and I don't think any other game has a mechanic like this. Sure, there's kill streaks in COD, but it's not the same. The game should have PvP, the graphics are great, all the explosions are cool, and if you're American or a fan of democracy and or freedom, the constant yelling about democracy is pretty great. There's a good variety of difficulties. There's hella enemy types, hella air support types, hella guns. There's a good amount of variety in every aspect that can have a variety in this game. Not bad, and good job, Arrowhead. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we rate this game a 0.90 out of 1, because there's no PvP and their excuse to not have it was lame. If you like this no bullshit review of Helldivers 2 and want to see more content like this, please liberate that like button, dive headfirst into the subscribe button, and comment why you love freedom. Thank you, good night. And any holes or cracks in the structure of your bathtub can spell mold and disaster if left unchecked for too long. Get it taken care of, ASAP.